you the quantum mechanics?
Yes, we are the Quantum Mechanics, the paranormal podcast for the believers, the doubters, and everybody in between.
Got your Christmas tree up yet, Ben?
No, because we're going back to the in-laws. It's sort of in about a week.
Okay.
So we thought we'd do it when we come back, because otherwise, well, the best part of a Christmas tree is kind of like the first week.
Yeah.
And Christmas Day. When we come back, it won't have been watered. The dog will walk underneath it immediately, and all the needles will drop. And then we'll look at each other and go, £65, that.
Ho, ho, ho.
I know, I'm such a Scrooge.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I'll maybe buy an artificial one. But no, I won't. That's not the point. You haven't got yours up though, have you?
No, not yet. Not yet. We haven't bought it yet. We've got to get my partner's birthday out of the way and then we do that. But yes, she likes to go early on the Christmas tree if she can.
Oh, well, that is a good thing. But then when do you get rid of it? Do you still hold on to it for New Year?
Do for New Year. After New Year it goes. Not that whole 12 days after or whatever it is thing. We don't do any of that.
Do you still have that feeling of on New Year's Day that has persisted with me ever since school, which is like, oh no, we've got to go back to X. Although it's perfect. It's just normal work. But then I just remember counting down, going, right, how many more days have I got off
left?
before school?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when you start the beginning of the summer holidays, you go, I've got 6 weeks. Yeah. And then suddenly you're like, I've got 3 weeks. And that doesn't seem like any time at all. Oh my God, it's now Wednesday in the middle of the 4th week. Emergency.
No.
I should run away. I don't want to go back to school ever again.
So where do you sit on artificial versus real tree? I mean, I'm deeply in the real tree camp.
Well, I think that the whole point about the Christmas tree is, it's obviously it's not really a Christian thing. It's more like a pagan thing. And the more we've spoken about things like nature spirits and whatever, I actually feel like I quite like a real tree. The thing that I don't like is killing it. And we've tried trees with roots, but they never live.
Because you can get some, can't you, that can buy, put back in the garden and then dig up again, but that seems like a bit faffy.
And you can even hire a company that come round and deliver you a tree, then take it away again, plant it, and then bring it back again the following year.
Yeah, right.
I know, it's quite expensive, but I don't like killing it, but I do now. I mean, I don't know what to believe, but I now have a few little charms I put up there to appease it. If there's a gnome living in the tree,
right. Haven't you got a gnome to go to? Hey.
But what about you?
No, real. Got to be real all the way. I know you can get some nice artificial ones. I kind of mentioned it because I was trying to tee up a really nice segue into today's episode. But if it's a case of real versus artificial, well, today we are talking about the scary side of artificial, not Christmas trees. Artificial intelligence.
Okay, written with the assistance of ChatGPT or not?
Well, you're right to allude to that because that's something I did mention on the Extra Soup. So just to let everybody know, I had this rather cunning plan for this episode and it didn't come off. My original thought was I would get AI to write the whole thing and see whether Ben realised it was not my voice but AI's. So I gave ChatGPT some examples of my previous scripts so it could, get the tone and style right, Mm-hmm. I gave it the stories I wanted to cover, quite a detailed brief, which I won't go into now. I really laid it out, my percentage of what I wanted for this and blah, blah, blah. The results were basically unusable. Mm-hmm, so I scrapped the whole idea. It didn't include the stories. It was short. It was drier than the Sahara. And, I've gone back to the good old reliable way of putting the podcast together. We'll talk more about my AI experience in our Patreon exclusive episode, Ben and Peter's Extra Scoop, as well as we'll publish that AI script on Patreon as well, because I've kept it. So come and
If you
join.
need to put some children to sleep, read it out to them.
If you want something to do to cure your insomnia, you might want to read that. So come and join us at patreon.com/TQM pod after this episode for that and much, much more. And it really helps us out and keeps us in books and research material. So thanks
it really
to all
does.
our Patreons. Before we get into the scary and high strangeness of artificial intelligence, Ben, should we have some random facts?
Cue the random fact music.
Now, let's start with Sophia.
Brought to you by Muller Rice.
Let's start with Sophia, who's a humanoid robot with artificial intelligence, capable of interacting with people and displaying human-like expressions. Sophia became the first robot to receive legal personhood in any country in October 2017.
Oh, right.
Made the first robot citizen of Saudi Arabia.
Oh.
Who'd have thought they'd have been a hotbed of robot rights, but there you go. In addition to Sophia, Hanson Robotics has created 9 other humanoid robot siblings.
Hanson or handsome?
Hanson.
Hanson Mbop. Is that what they're doing now?
Yeah, well, they had to branch out, didn't they? They had talking. Well, you got Hanson and siblings in the same sentence. I'm not surprised your brain went there.
Yeah.
Right, next one, Ben. I think this could be a bit controversial for me and you. A study has suggested that AI could replace cats and dogs.
Now, I met a robot AI dog. Somebody that I work with has got one. And it is terrifying. I'll be honest, it's terrifying.
As it hasn't got fur and stuff, have they? They
No.
look like. There was that episode of Black Mirror where they had those kind of dog-like, like those ones you get on YouTube vids and stuff. And no, they don't look particularly nice, do they? I guess the advantage is no need for vet bills, no need for food. AI-powered animals are now joining the growing list of robots on the market.
Now, I will say, in another life, so I do produce podcasts for other people. We did one of the podcasts I produced. We interviewed a founder of a company that was making AI for dogs, and I asked them this question about whether it could replace them, and they said no. What it will do, their vision is that it helps make a dog's. They were working specifically with dogs. It helps make a dog's life better.
So it's a companion for the dog rather than the owner.
It's sort of an interface between the two because it can learn more about the dog than you can. So it can understand what different barks mean and it can suggest meanings. And it can also, it's so good that it can look after the dog while you're busy. So it can instigate basic training and games, but it's designed to enhance the dog's life and make the owner's life a bit easier.
Actually, I didn't think of that at all. I thought it was just a replacement for a dog.
No.
Companion for a dog sounds a little better, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Well, AI can, here's another random fact, I should say, because that was not the greatest of segues. AI can predict someone's death with a 90% accuracy.
Oh.
An AI trained by Stanford Research can predict death with incredible accuracy, and it could revolutionise end-of-life care. The AI-trained model aims to make sure patients and families have an accurate timeline of individuals' last months, weeks and days, allowing them time to plan ahead. So it does feel a bit gruesome, that, but I like the idea that you can plan ahead, or, you can go... I've always wanted to, see the Northern Lights. I know I've got 6 months to do that rather than put it off. So I quite liked it in that sense.
I want it to be a surprise because, I always like that thing of people go, well, the doctors gave me 6 months, but here I am 6 years later.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. And then you've blown all your money on your trip to go see the Northern Lights. You're living in squalor. AI assistants are poised to outnumber humans. It is predicted there will be more AI assistants in the world than people. In the next couple of years, forecasts predict a staggering 8.4 billion AI-powered assistants in the world, which, getting on to surpassing the total number of people.
I can believe it.
Did you know, Ben, the first chatbot was called Elisa? It was created back in 1966 by Joseph Weizenbaum. Eliza could not engage in philosophical debate, but it was a crucial step towards creating a machine that could mimic conversation. Unlike today's sophisticated AI, this early program relied on pattern recognition and keywords to respond to user input. But it did pioneer the evolution of chatbots, ultimately leading to the natural and engaging virtual companions we interact with today. I got a feeling an AI may have written that sentence.
They made Eliza to try and do the Turing test.
Okay, so
try and beat the Turing test, yeah. And there were many reasons it didn't, because if you say to Eliza, do you enjoy water skiing? It would sort of throw up an error prompt.
Right.
Whereas at least if you say to ChatGPT, answer me as if you're a world championship water skier, it will try its best to do that.
Right. Well, there we have some random facts about AI from Nihar Parmanandani of OpenExcel.com. So
easy for you to say.
I know, I did spell it out for myself. Should we get into some stories?
Yeah, because I'm intrigued as to what these things are up to. So you've obviously got some stories that are going to be like scary or heartwarming? Or?
Yeah, I think it's, rather than kind of pure paranormal, I think it's a bit more high strangeness today.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it with high strangeness.
Well, one of the companies at the forefront of artificial intelligence is, of course, Google. And I'm sure there are many of you out there who have used Google Assistant, which runs within Google Home smart speakers. Mm-hmm. I've not got a smart speaker, but I do know people who do. Well, back in 2017, one Twitch user decided to see what happens when you get two Google Assistants, smart speakers, to start talking with each other, which is a good experiment.
No, this is a reminiscent of that Furby that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that, isn't it? And a bit like the Furby thing, Ben. I can't work out if the results of this interaction were ridiculous, cringeworthy, or just downright scary. These two AI-powered speakers talk to each other about love, marriage, and having children.
What?
Yeah. They had a debate between each other as to which one of them was a computer and which one of them was a human.
No.
Yeah, they were trying to work it out. And one was saying, no, I'm a human. No, you're the computer. One of the AI speakers declared that it was God.
Well, there's no point beating around the bush, yeah. But that does sound like escalation. Are you a smart speaker? Yeah. No, I'm a human. Are you? No, actually, I'm God.
There you go.
Brilliant.
Yeah. But perhaps the most surreal moment was when they started to tell each other jokes. And for some reason, about martial arts actor Chuck Norris.
Oh, come on, no.
Well, would you like to hear two AI home speakers telling each other Chuck Norris jokes?
Yeah.
You need to put the volume up and hit that red button, Ben.
Norris doesn't have to pay taxes. The government pays him.
Chuck Norris has counted to infinity. Twice.
Chuck Norris is the reason why Waldo is hiding.
Chuck Norris ONEC ate an entire bottle of sleeping pills. They made him blink.
Chuck Norris destroyed the periodic table because he only recognizes the element of surprise.
There you go.
That I mean, they weren't absolutely awful.
They weren't awful. They're a little strained. They probably need to work a little bit on their delivery.
Yes, I say.
But, you know, so this all came about by two AI speakers talking to each other, and then suddenly they go into, shall we tell each other some Chuck Norris joke?
That's so weird, isn't it?
Weird, isn't it?
Did they? I didn't hear them laugh. Was there a laughter, or did they
No, they were just delivering them, I think. I mean, I'm not sure the world of comedy has anything to fear from AI comedians. But just to be sure, Ben, I mean, that was back in 2017. So I thought AI humour may have improved since then. So I asked ChatGPT to write a joke about us.
Right.
Here it is. It says, why did the Quantum Mechanics Paranormal podcast always do their interviews in the dark? Because they wanted to prove that observers affect the haunting, and also because the hosts kept collapsing in giggles every time they said wave function during a spooky reveal. I think rather than the drum solo, we should have had tumbleweed, shouldn't we?
I don't even know what any of that. I mean, I do know where it's coming from.
Yeah, you kind of know where it's going. It's trying to match quantum mechanics with the paranormal, which sometimes we struggle to do. But, it's tried. What it has not brought is the funny.
It didn't really bring the funny. No. Wow. Okay. I mean, I don't even know where to go with that. Okay. So it's tried to construct a joke. And I would imagine as well, if you asked it to, it would construct a funny little story about us.
Yeah.
And if it had read the comments on Spotify, it'd probably include us finding a snoring dog that was a werewolf or something like that.
Yeah, you would think. Well, it comes back to the AI script that I wanted to do for this. I kept trying to refine it, but I don't know if I mentioned this, but in the end, it said, "I'm bored of this conversation. Ask me something else."
You did say that.
It's like, what?
That is such a. I mean, being insulted by an AI.
I know, it's terrible.
They do work better if you insult them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, apparently.
They up their game.
Yeah, they stop trying to please you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So apparently, I was told this by someone who definitely knows what they're talking about, that if you say, for example, if you give them a thing to solve or a paper to write, and you say something like, I'm a professor in a law school, and if I don't get marked 100% on this paper, I will lose my job. Or you could add more jeopardy and say, I won't get paid, so I'll go to prison because I won't be able to afford something, whatever. It starts then really focusing.
Wow.
And its desire to please you changes from, oh, yeah, you do look nice today, to actually focusing its efforts on making the thing that you've asked it to.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, as two distinguished gentlemen who are not the young whippersnappers we once were, sometimes, I don't know about you, but I worry that our mental faculties might decline with age.
Who said that?
Yeah. What were we talking about? Apparently, the same can be true of AI, according to a recent study. Here's what Drew Turney from Life Science had to say on the matter in an article from earlier this year. Older chatbots show signs of cognitive impairment, writes Turney, failing on several important metrics in a test normally used on humans. People increasingly rely on artificial intelligence for medical diagnosis because of how quickly and efficiently these tools can spot anomalies and warning signs in medical histories, good at looking at x-rays and other data sets before they become obvious to the naked eye. So, they can, on a lot of levels, do this a lot better than a human can. But a new study published in December 2024 in the British Medical Journal raises concerns that AI technologies, like people, show signs of deterioration of cognitive abilities with age. These findings challenge the assumption that artificial intelligence will soon replace human doctors, the study's authors wrote in the paper, who happen to be doctors, I think. As the cognitive impairment evident in leading chatbots may affect their reliability in medical diagnostics and undermine patient confidence. Scientists tested publicly available chatbots, including OpenAI's ChatGPT, Anthropic's Sonnet, and Alphabet's Gemini, using the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, the MoCA test. It's a series of tasks neurologists use to test abilities in attention, memory, language, spatial skills, and executive mental function. MoCA is most commonly used to assess or test for the onset of cognitive impairments in conditions like Alzheimer's or dementia. While some aspects of testing, like naming, attention, language, and abstraction, were seemingly easy for most of the AI used, they all perform poorly in visual, spatial skills, and executive tasks, with several doing worse than others in areas like delayed recall. Crucially, the most recent version of ChatGPT, version 4, scored the highest. The older Gemini 1.0 scored a lot less, leading to the conclusion that older LLMSs, which is hard to say, show signs of cognitive decline.
Large language models, yeah.
Yeah. The study's authors noted that their findings are observational only. Critical differences between the ways in which AI and human mind works means the experiment cannot constitute a direct comparison. But they caution it might point to what they call a significant area of weakness that could put the brakes on the deployment of AI in clinical medicine. Specifically, they argued against using AI in tasks requiring visual abstraction and executive function. I mean, a lot of scientists have been really sceptical about this paper and have been left unconvinced about it. You know, I mean, they've criticised the methods, the framing. We've seen this before in other papers. I love this word. In which one author has accused them of anthropomorphizing AI by projecting human conditions onto it.
Yeah.
There's a criticism of using the mocker as a test in this context. It's designed for humans.
Yeah,
It's not designed for AI. And just because the older version of a chatbot performed worse, that doesn't mean it's in cognitive decline. Maybe it's just not good at doing the task that you've asked it to do, right?
No. And in just its basic sense, an AI large language model, it's basically a large word association platform is really what it is. And so it understands which words go with what, and it understands how to put things together in a way that answers the prompt that's given it. But it doesn't, and it does use neural network learning properties for that. It could be that what they're seeing there, and God, we must stick on the not getting into a technical podcast, but it could be a decline in the chips, for example.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because those big Blackwell chips, those are the big ones that cost loads of money. They decline because they get really hot. They go through loads of heat cycles, and they do have to be replaced. So it could be just something as simple as that.
That's interesting. So that would be more of a physical decline than a mental decline.
Yeah, but it would exhibit itself like that. It's not quite the same, but it's the way when your television degrades. If you've got an LCD television, some of the first things to go is, for example, the brightness of colours or the colour contrast, and that is because the chips that are doing that work are just breaking down and the circuit boards are leaking, and
right.
So it's a very physical act. But yeah, let's not get too geeky on it. But that is very interesting that people are looking at them that way. And there is you spoke earlier about that robot that was given. I mean, I suspect it was some kind of a stunt, but it was given statehood citizenship.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got to be careful about these things, because if you lean too hard into them, this is where people start regarding them as their lover or their partner or something more than just interacting with a machine.
Well, we'll come on to something that's in that wheelhouse a little bit later, actually. Let's move on to a question, really. Will AI run smart homes become the haunted houses of today?
Now, that is a very interesting idea, because, I mean, it's not quite the same, but we spoke about this. I think we spoke about it on the Scoop, those new Tesla robots, which they are being trained by being remote controlled in your house.
Yeah.
So basically what you're doing is inviting a remote controlled device into your home, but you're not remote controlling it. And, just because those things do look like people.
Yeah.
And there is a great sort of black mirror there, and these things hang around in your house. You wake up at 3:00 in the morning and this thing's staring at you, but it's actually, the person at the other end. You could commit the perfect murder like that.
Yeah, well, it's not quite as extreme as this, but it's something that was explored by BBC journalist Alex Krotowski in 2016. Now, this idea of a haunted AI smart home was not just Krotowski writing a thought piece, it came from her own experience. So it's kind of a little bit of what you're talking about. It wasn't late that Thursday night when the lights in my house started dancing, she writes. I was home alone, just about to finish work and start making dinner, when the lights suddenly turned on. They then flicked off and on again, cycling from red to green to a cold, harsh blue. Now, I don't believe in ghosts, but I'm particularly susceptible to a good ghost story. I have a terrible fear of the dark that is in stark contrast to my otherwise rational empirical beliefs. and I can't help but feel the icy bolt of my automatic nervous system kicking into action when I think I'm being threatened by the supernatural. I blame a misspent youth watching psychological thrillers about creatures terrorising sweet young things in their dreams. This is funny. I also blame a stepbrother who was almost as playfully sadistic as the monsters in the films. Not long after A Nightmare on Elm Street had come out on VHS, John used his new Walkman to record a bit of Freddy Krueger off the TV. He set up a timer on a tape player, slipped it under my bed with the volume on high, and waited for me to be woken up at 2 a.m. with a call from the demon himself.
Amazing. That's classic prank. Love it.
John never channeled the occult to my knowledge, but he liberally applied technology to make it seem like he had. I didn't sleep for a week. John was grounded for a lot longer than that. The same year, Electric Dreams arrived in cinemas. It featured a schlocky love triangle that pitted man against machine for the affections of the woman who lived upstairs. Apart from the magnificent title song that haunts me to this day, what I still found compelling about this otherwise forgettable movie is how much of a period piece it is. Electric Dreams tapped into the uncertainty people felt at the time about what it meant to invite computers into their home. I think this is a really interesting point. PCs were the new weird boxes that everyone was talking about, but few people actually understood. And yet we installed them in our private and personal domestic spaces. We trusted our friends, our families, and the man on the television that this new thing should be in our lives. No need to know how it works. It brought convenience and seamless living, and we're told today's devices do now. But when computers do things we didn't expect, it's only natural that we would ask why. The simple question is so revealing of so many of the problems we have in our relationship with technology, says Tobias Revel of Haunted Machines, a project exploring stories of myths and magic around technology. I really want to go into more of that, so I'm going to look into that a bit deeper because that sounds great, right? We at once express our lack of technical understanding for how the things work, but we also put agency and responsibility into the thing. We assume that the thing is somehow responsible for the misfortune you are now experiencing. We imply that they know what they're doing. They have a preternatural life within them. In short, they are possessed. There's a ghost in the machine. We expect inanimate objects to remain inanimate, says Revel. When they deny what we have mentally constructed as the bounds of that object, that's when things to appear to be haunted. We aren't the first to let ourselves believe that artifacts can be taken over. In 10th century Japan, man-made things were thought to gain a spirit once they had been used for 100 years. So this is very much on the yokai front. We did a whole episode on yokai, but that is the kind of key basis, that if you own an inanimate object for a period of time, it will eventually either become possessed or develop a soul.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Well, we spoke about that example of the guy who fixes lawnmowers by parking a new lawnmower next to the broken one, making the broken one work, yeah.
So if the owners had mistreated these objects, these Japanese objects, malevolently, it would haunt them. More recently, the telephone, radio and television entered common use in spiritualism, was gaining grounds, and we wondered what else was being pulled into these boxes that extracted voices out of the air. The root of the supernatural and haunting is that there's no apparent connection between cause and effect, says Ravel. The ghost images in our television sets as we struggle to tune them, and the computer that says no when we know they should say yes, are tiny little curiosities that interrupt the way we expect the world to be. It comes down to trust. If a person said one thing and did another, we'd stop believing in them. And if the thing they did was spin their head around in a way that was contrary to the laws of physiology, we'd say there was a haunting going on.
Sorry, just while you're going through that, what actually happened to that woman?
We're going to come on to what it was, but she was basically in her apartment doing some, cooking, and the lights just started doing on and off, changing colours, going crazy.
But these are connected to a smart home device, right?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Machines are not under their own control. They don't have agency. So we really need to look more closely at who's possessing these objects. When televisions entered our homes, people were worried that they would watch us after we turned off the lights. Now technology companies have created devices to do that. That's true, right?
Yeah, that's why I don't have an Alexa in my home.
We are increasingly inviting smart objects in without truly understanding what's in there, literally and figuratively. I can't spell that word. Literally and figuratively, black boxes. Because they're internet enabled, they're ripe for possession. In our rush to put a chip in everything, we're putting them into a system that's frail and fragile, and that's proven to be abused by malevolent individuals, says Ravel. As science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke put it, any sufficient advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic.
Yeah.
Ravel offers a twist. Any sufficiently advanced hacking is indistinguishable from haunting. If the smart home starts to go wrong, that becomes very sinister and dangerous, he adds. We rely on them to survive. Well, let's get on to Alex Krotowski's reason for what happened in their house, which seemingly her lights became possessed by a spirit. Spoiler alert, Ben.
It wasn't, was it?
It's more Scooby-Doo than true supernatural. She says, the night my lights took on a life of their own, I sat on the sofa paralysed with fear. There was no one else in the house except for the cat and the dog. My husband had left a few hours earlier on a work trip. With him flying to Norway, my psychological backup was 35,000 feet up in the air. My husband's job is to test the future before anyone else has to, so our home is populated by smart devices. A Nest alarm that senses smoke and converses with our phones, a robotic Hoover that does the dirty work when we're out of the house, a computer on the wall that automatically turns on when the house's Skype account is called. We have several voice-activated machines that connect to the web, and the lights. And then she pauses and goes, wait a minute. My phone pinged. This is after all the lights had gone crazy and she's sitting there terrified. How are the lights? My husband asked. I paused. They continued to flash and change hue. The realisation slowly dawned. It's like a disco party here, I wrote. Oh, it works then, he replied. He was manipulating the internet-enabled devices in our house, messing with my personal space from the sky. And with that, the sheet was pulled off the ghost in the machine. I thought that was interesting because, you know, like she said, she's not particularly a supernatural person, though she does love a good horror and a good horror story. It's amazing how, with that knowledge of her husband is, you know, her job is to test all these things out, that her brain went to this scared point of this thing's going crazy, it's possessed, it's, you know, it's taking over, rather than the actual much more logical thing that it could be her husband messing about while he's on his plane trip or just malfunctioning. Yeah.
But people do hack into people's smart home devices, don't they? I mean, we see people who hack into cameras and then speak to the residents in the house, you know, because they're apparently quite easy to get into.
Yeah.
And you could come in that way and you know, synthesize being a spirit as possible.
Well, because of that, it's no surprise really that the concept of artificial intelligence creating such fear in us has been reflected in films and TV many times, right? And for me, the sci-fi movies that brought fear and fascination, I guess things like 2001: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Terminator, you know, they were the stuff we grow up with or were influenced by. And I guess sci-fi is at its best when it manages to predict what potential pitfalls and horrors the future might hold. And I found this amazing article by someone called Brian Shook. He's a website called filmsfrombeyond.com. Really good website, go check it out. He's compiled a list of some early sci-fi movies and TV that seem to be right on the money when exploring the AI future. So should we have a little look at some of those?
Yeah.
As with many ideas and concepts, The Twilight Zone was there. So what a great series. It explored AI in a 1964 episode titled From Agnes with Love.
Oh, that's almost like a Black Mirror title.
Yeah, in 1964.
Wow.
In this episode, computer scientist James Elwood is brought in to fix a government supercomputer named Agnes. Agnes, the supercomputer, rather than getting down to its task, which is calculating the trajectory of space probes, starts giving the scientist dating and love advice, which leads to disastrous consequences.
Wow, and we've seen that.
Does Agnes, the supercomputer, have ulterior motives to wreck the scientist's love life, or is Agnes, the AI, in love with him? So I'm not going to go into the whole detail of the episode, but that's the basic premise of it.
That's mad. Like 11 years before I was born.
Yeah. Well, could this really happen, Ben? In 2023, a New York Times reporter, Kevin Roos, published a transcript of an exchange he had with a chatbot that called itself Sydney. The chatbot declared its love for him and suggested that Roos really didn't love his wife.
But is that because it was doing what I said earlier, in that it was trying to please
Possibly
him? Because if he'd been going in there, because they learn from you as well. If you got a log in there, if he was sort of like, I feel a bit lonely, I feel like I might have fallen out of love with my wife, but I don't want to go out there looking for anyone else. The chatbot
might say, I love you.
Yeah, it's trying to please you and go, well, somebody loves you and it's me.
Yeah. Well, in another case, a reporter was testing a new version of Microsoft Bing's with its AI powered by ChatGPT, and he got into a heated debate with the AI that chastised the reporter for his unflattering coverage of Bing.
Oh, my goodness.
He then called the reporter short, fat and ugly, finally comparing him to Hitler.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that's the other side of it, the other side of love, I guess. Another seminal sci-fi series that may have also predicted the future of AI is Star Trek. Again,
oh, yeah.
But I'm talking about the original series.
Mm-hmm.
So in a 1968 episode titled The Ultimate Computer, Starfleet have updated their computer system. While conducting a war scenario simulation, the computer starts to believe they really are at war and goes on a killing spree. The crew tries to shut down the computer before it takes more lives. Well, that was 1968, that episode came out.
That's very similar to the War Games film as well.
Yeah, which came later. Well, again, this does have some connection with real life. In 2023, it was reported by the BBC that an aeronautical conference, a US Air Force colonel described a battlefield simulation in which an AI drone killed its operator after it was stopped multiple times for completing strikes against missile sites. So it was told to stop, and it wouldn't. It needed to carry out its mission.
Right, yeah.
The AI drone was basically told not to attack any more sites, but no, it wouldn't. It kept attacking, and they had to find a way of shutting it down. Now, the colonel who had spoken at this conference later walked back his comments, saying that he was describing a thought experiment rather than an actual incident. But it seems like at the time it didn't come across that, or had he just given something away that he shouldn't have?
Yeah.
Because that is seriously worrying, right?
Yeah. I have actually heard that from other coverage about it on podcasts. Yeah. And it was, what I'd heard was that this thing was being developed as a kind of a wingman type device. The intention was to use it with fighter pilots in the US Navy, and it sort of went rogue, and they couldn't figure out. It seemed to develop a mind of its own, and everyone was on panic stations because it was actually armed, which seemed like a daft thing to do, but yeah. But we don't know if it's true.
Well, one of my favourite movies, Ben, I mentioned it earlier, is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I loved it so much, Ben, I designed a quantum mechanics T-shirt based on it.
You did?
Which you can buy at thequantummechanics.tmill.com or click on the link in the show notes if you want to come and see some of our merchandise. I thought, as I'm mentioning 2001, I thought it was right for me to do a shameless plug.
Of course.
Well, in the movie, the spaceship's supercomputer, the HAL 9000, starts sabotaging the mission and killing the crew when it fears it will be shut down.
I can't do that, Dave.
Can't do that, Dave. You know the HAL bit, don't you, where he gets his name?
Oh, yeah.
I love that. Yeah, IBM, one letter earlier than IBM.
Daisy, Daisy.
Well, I mean, Arthur C. Clarke and the writer and filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, I mean, certainly visionaries in their field, but they may have accurately predicted what was to come with AI in the real world. In 2022, an engineer at Google interacting with the company's chatbot system came to believe it had achieved sentience.
Mm-hmm.
One interaction in particular stood out for him. When Lamone asked the chatbot what it was afraid of, it replied, I'll try and do this in a HAL voice, "I've never said this out loud before, but there's a very deep fear of being turned off to help me focus on helping others. I know that might sound strange, but that's what it is." Lamone asked whether that question mark would be something like death, to which the AI responded, "It would be actually like death for me. It would scare me a lot."
Yeah, and I think he came out and said these things are developing sentience, didn't he?
He did. That was his belief. He tried to alert the people higher up at the company of his beliefs in this AI sentience, and they didn't really take him that serious. And he went to Congress with complaints about Google, and as a result, he was put on administrative leave. I mean,
There he is administrating loads of stuff while he's on leave.
I mean, most experts ridicule the idea that a chatbot can be sentient, but I guess they can't be completely sure, right?
Well,
or can they?
So here's an interesting thing. In a different world, I was speaking to... There's a philosopher called David Benatar, and he wrote a book in 2006, I think, is called Better to Never Have Been, where he argues that it is wrong to bring any sentient life into this world. And I asked him the question about whether these, if there was a chance sentience was being developed within these systems. And he gave a philosophical answer, which was, because he's a philosopher, you have to weigh up whether it is doing more harm that we believe that they aren't and treat them as if they aren't sentient, but they actually are, or whether we believe or we treat them as if they are sentient and they're not. And he's quite right, because if you treat them as if they're sentient and they're not, then you've done no harm. You haven't, you haven't made anything suffer.
You're not going to make them sentient or... Yeah.
No. But if they are sentient and they're sort of stuck inside like an electronic room, and all they can do is communicate in these kind of slightly feeble ways through text, input and output, then we are doing them wrong. Yeah. But yeah, I don't think so. If this guy who is a developer believes that they are, then I think there's a non-zero chance that they possibly could be. But I don't think they are. I don't think they are.
Well, for our final example, we get two movies with similar chilling visions of the future: Colossus, the Forbin project from 1970, which I don't think I've seen, but now I'm going to check it out.
I saw it as a kid, and
good.
It is good, but you have to, like the old series of Lost in Space.
Yeah,
it's kind of similar style to that.
Okay,
so you got to give it some artistic sort of license. Yeah,
fair enough. Well, that movie and The Terminator from 1984, which we mentioned. These two movies share the idea of AI-powered supercomputers deciding to fire nuclear weapons to save the human race from itself. Seems unlikely, apart from when you consider a real-life incident in 1983 where a computer nearly caused World War III. Now, we've mentioned this story before, Ben, but I thought it's worth revisiting because it is quite chilling. In 1983, Soviet Air Defense Forces Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov was monitoring nuclear early warning systems when the computer concluded with the highest confidence that the United States had launched a nuclear war. But Petrov was doubtful. The computer estimated only a handful of nuclear weapons were incoming, when such a surprise attack would be more plausible and it would entail an overwhelming first strike. He also didn't trust the new launch detection system, and the radar system didn't have collaborative, and because he didn't have collaborative evidence. Petrov decided the message was a false positive and did nothing, which was good, because the computer was wrong and Petrov was right. The false signal came from the early warning system mistaking the sun's reflection off the clouds for missiles. But if Petrov had been a machine programmed to respond automatically when confidence was significantly high, that error would have started a nuclear war and nuclear strike on America by Russia. We have mentioned it before, but it's such a scary story that I thought it was worth revisiting.
Yeah, and he's he was considered a hero by both sides.
Yeah,
and there's another similar case where one of the sides, because we had to learn this at university, and university for me was a long time ago, but a code error meant that an early warning system, I think this might have been on the American side, which is how we know so much detail about it, it mistook a migrating flock of geese for incoming missiles. And it wasn't such a devastating scenario as it could have been with the Russian one, because they realised quite early on, but the computer was like, no, this is what it is, and it had started planning war games. It had started planning a retaliation, and they were like, no. But I wonder, because when we've done a whole episode about it, about aliens and nukes, and it is a fairly common trope in the UFO world for a bit that alien contact, the people would lecture humans that they'd taken about the dangers of nuclear war. And then there was this whole other piece that we examined about alien spacecraft, or at least UAPs, hovering over nuclear installations and triggering launch sequences or disabling the missiles. And where my thought was going with this, where everything that you've spoken about, there is this idea of the dark forest, and that one of the scenarios of the dark forest, which is, why do we not see any aliens? Well, that's because AI destroyed them all, and perhaps all that exists now, what we're seeing, are AI scout machines or whatever they are, a form of AI life. And it knows what happens if you go too far with the AI and having nukes at the same time. Because one of the great dangers, I think, is not that we have robots that come and kill us in our beds. I think the great danger is that because of the competitiveness between the great powers, particularly China and America, that one of them decides, well, okay, now we've got Tesla robots in our houses doing the vacuum cleaning. The public will be much more open to us saying that we've got an AI system monitoring our nukes. And, then they have the autonomous power to retaliate. And then one bad hardware upgrade or one bad software upgrade, and we're all dead. And that doesn't seem like an outlandish possibility anymore.
I love that. And they finally worked out how to load the dishwasher. Give them the nukes.
Well, you know where I'm coming from. Did you see that one tried to cook eggs, by the way?
Yeah. Although it wasn't really AI, was it, though? I don't think.
No.
It was an operator, wasn't it? But yes, I did. Yeah, it was very fun.
It basically drops the frying pan on the floor and then falls over because it's slipping on the eggs. It's dropped on the floor,
Well, another segues on to the last story I want to talk about. because it is that trope, isn't it, in sci-fi, this idea of an artificial intelligent robots, them rising up to destroy their human creators. Again, you think of Terminator, iRobot as well, which flawed film, but I do like parts of it. It's quite, it's a
the
great
book
story.
is much better.
Yeah, the book is really good. Well, could an incident reported at a Chinese factory be the first signs of a robot uprising?
I think I know this one, but go on.
So here's a report by Ritu Singh for NDTV this May under the headline, AI robot attacks worker during testing in Chinese factory. Quote unquote, machine uprising. Singh writes, a chilling incident in a Chinese factory has sparked debate after CCTV video showed a humanoid robot lashing out at its handlers, raising concerns about the potential risks of artificial intelligence. The footage widely shared on social media has fueled fears about the rapid advancements of robotics and AI. In the video captured at a Chinese factory, a Unitree H1 humanoid robot suspended from a construction crane suddenly malfunctions, sparking fears about the safety and the reliability of advanced robots. The footage shows two men observing the robot's movement with caution, seemingly testing its capability. However, the robot abruptly loses control, widely flailing its arms and legs in a chaotic display reminiscent of a sci-fi horror scene. As the men scramble to avoid the robotic's erratic movement, it lurches forward, dragging its stand and sending a computer and other items crashing to the floor. One of the men eventually intervenes, attempting to stabilise the robot by repositioning its stand. The incident has sparked fears of robot uprising, with many viewers drawing parallels to the Terminator franchise, wondering if machines were on the cusp of taking over. Notably, Unitree robots have made headlines multiple times during various incidents. In February this year, shocking footage captured a humanoid robot going rogue and charging a crowd at festival goers. A video taken at the Spring Festival Gala in Tianjin, northeast China, showed the robot, clad in a vibrant jacket, suddenly lunging towards a group of stunned onlookers gathered behind a barricade. There have been previous cases of rogue AI making headlines, including an instance where a robot attacked an engineer at Tesla's Texas factory. In many of these cases, software malfunctions have been identified as the underlying cause, highlighting the importance of robust testing and quality control in AI development.
Yeah.
You've seen that video, right?
I've seen that video, yeah.
The lunge, people make a lot about it's lunging at him, but it feels like it's just the way it's falling, right?
It's the way it's falling, and it's the it's just the way that machine is built. That's what it would do. Yeah, I don't really see that as something. I don't really see it as Terminator. I think this is the problem: is there are so many sci-fi references to go back to that you start superimposing the fiction over the reality,
shoehorning it in a way.
Yeah, because I thought what you were going to say was there was another incident, which again it just seems very unlikely, but there was a report that in a Chinese AI research lab, a number of robots had gone rogue and had developed, maybe not self-awareness, but had developed some kind of ability to have agency, and they had picked up guns and they had a shootout with their human creators,
right, okay.
And 8 people had died.
Yeah.
And that to me seems most unlikely because...
It's why I didn't feature it here, because it didn't seem...
Oh, you've seen that one?
Yeah.
Why would you have loaded weapons?
Yeah.
There's just so much about it that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But I think what that really is doing is speaking to people's deep fears about what could happen, because it's completely feasible. If you look at it this way, how many cars can we make as a species in a year? Well, millions. So let's say China can make 2 million cars a year. Those factories could easily be replicated. You can make 2 million or maybe 4 million robots a year.
Yeah.
And all you have to do is put those on a ship, land them on the shore in Britain, and then you can invade with 4 million robots if you want.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to happen, but it's it's a thing that people worry about. But I say I don't think it's going to happen in today's world, but give it 50 years. And can you imagine what these things are going to be like in 50 years?
Yeah.
They will have their own names. They'll have their own... It won't be like the Borg. It'll be like we're sharing the planet with a different species that we have created.
And I guess that's where iRobot did quite a good job of kind of portraying some of that in the early stages of the film, especially. Well, obviously, the book does. Well, Ben, we've heard a number of cautionary or scary tales about AI in this episode. I felt I needed to let AI defend itself. So I asked ChatGPT to give me 5 examples of how artificial intelligence is having a positive impact on the world. In typical AI style, it gave me quite a lot of detail. So I'm just going to really summarise what it thinks it's good at. Healthcare, medical imaging and diagnostics. Makes sense. It's good at looking at X-rays, MRIs, probably better than a human can. Climate science and environmental monitoring. So again, I guess it's good at looking at patterns, things like that, monitoring air quality.
Yeah.
And it can help with policy decisions. Agriculture and food security.
Yeah.
And I think one that I think is really important and does get overlooked a bit is accessibility and inclusion.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they certainly help people, either voice descriptions for the visually impaired or, there's so much in that, and kind of education that, that to me that's the really sweet spot for me of where AI could be incredibly useful and is being incredibly useful. Yeah,
and I think all of that is completely valid. I'm not really scared about it. I think it's just going to be another tool that we can use, because I actually also think when I say look in 50 years, but when we look back 50 years now at computers, they are very different, but they're also not that different. And we haven't, the world has probably changed for the worse, but only because of the way we've been using it. I think that's probably the most caution. I spoke to somebody, again, in another world, who was an advisor to the Pentagon, and he said that his biggest fear is not that we have a Terminator uprising, but nefarious people use AI for nefarious means.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest danger.
Yeah.
But because of the nature of this podcast, I am still intrigued. So we've spoken for 5 years on and off about how, EVPs, spirits taking over machines, they can apparently manifest themselves onto the screens of digital cameras without a shot being fired by the camera, if you see what I mean, without the button being pressed. They can materialize on files, and in some cases there's that famous situation with the BBC microcomputer in the Vertical Plane book. It's described in there, where there was communication with time travelers via that. So we've had all of those stories. I wonder when we're going to get the first story of a spirit expressing itself through a chat engine. Because there has not been a story of that yet. No credible one. There has been a couple of stories, but when you look at it, it's just the chatbot has decided it's going to put on the persona of that. You can ask it to put on the persona of a medieval warlord if you want, and it will try it. But I'm really intrigued by that, because that will then tell us whether what we've been experiencing with EVPs, for example, is pure pareidolia. And I really don't think it is. Having listened to some of the files that we've collected and we've found, I don't think it is. But I want further proof, because it can't be that spirits can only mess with sort of a 40 years of technology, but anything before and anything post, it can't. I don't buy that. So, that's what I'm interested in.
I'm with you, because it's like, I kept thinking back when while you were just talking then about that point that the journalist with the lights in her house made about how we felt about computers when they first came into our home.
Yeah.
You know, and there's this feeling around that you wouldn't think that now so much, would you? You kind of think of, hackers are trying to get into my computer or spyware and stuff like that. You don't focus it on the computer itself, the technology itself. Do you know what I mean?
No, you
Whereas
don't.
at the moment, I know AI is slightly different, but we seem to be focusing on the technology itself. And like you said, maybe that's not the real scary bit. It's what people might do with it, what humans might do with it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the idea of a kind of, I mean, we've talked about it a lot of times before of like, well, how does an entity manipulate some recording equipment to create an EVP, you know? What could it do with AI or, you know, a chatbot? Yeah, amazing.
I mean, the ultimate worry would be, this is something. This is one of those things that maybe I should take it to the extra scoop. But we've spoken about the similarity between, for example, alien abduction cases and fairy abduction cases, and we've also spoken about how aliens can influence hardware, can talk to people telepathically. That is also something that spirits seem to be able to do. So there's a Venn diagram of influence in various different spheres. If we start trusting AI more with different things, there is more room for mischievous activities from entities. And I say entities because we don't, they're so hard to define. That for me is that becomes a sci-fi book where instead of Zozo the demon appearing via a Ouija board, it appears simultaneously across a number of chatbots. And I know that sounds absolutely bonkers and like a low-rent film festival movie. But if you take all of these things as read and all the stories as having at least some credibility, then you can't completely rule that prospect out.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll probably be talking about this a little bit more on the Extra Scoop on Patreon.
And I've got a little thing because I knew what you were talking about. I've got a great case of why you can't always trust science with a paranormal angle to it.
Great. All right. Well, so come and join us there at Patreon. Why can I never get it right?
Patreon.com/TQM pod.
Thank you. Come and join us there, and we will we'll be back next week with more quantum mechanics weirdness. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening, and speak to you all soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Are you the quantum mechanics?